Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back. Today we got a video. Did the Simpsons predict the Trump shooting? It's your choice whether to believe it or not. Remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's check it out.
My guys, take a look at that chart.
It is exactly what these counter snipers train to do. But this was the first time in history, according to a former senior agent, that a Secret Service sniper killed a would-be assassin. But clearly, a shot too late. In the moments leading up to the deadly shooting, you can see those two counter snipers scanning for threats in their positions on the rooftop behind former President Trump.
The Simpsons was popular, but nothing special when it first aired in 1989. And no one could have guessed what the future held for it. Which is ironic, considering what exactly the series is now famous for. It has become a household name, and for a much more eerie reason than the comedy it focuses on. The cartoon series has made numerous predictions that have come true, from something as small as a Lady Gaga performance to modern technology that didn't exist when it aired. So, it's no surprise that people are coming up with so many conspiracy theories to explain these strange occurrences, especially taking the most recent events into account. For every big event that happens in America, there's usually a similar Simpsons episode that aired years ago. In fact, the average time between these predictions has been calculated to be 13 years, which is a lot. To understand what exactly freaks people out so much, let's take a look at some of the most prominent predictions. One of the times the show really threw people off was when it predicted the mass of the Higgs boson and came unnervingly close. What exactly is the Higgs boson? Well, it's the fundamental particle created due to quantum excitation of the Higgs field. This field gives mass to all particles and, by extension, everything in the universe. Since Peter Higgs and his colleagues first came up with it, scientists have been trying to prove its existence. In a Simpsons episode, The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, aired in 1998, Homer, realizing that he had yet to do anything of note, leaves his job to become an inventor. In this episode, he predicts the mass of the Higgs boson as 775 GeV, while the actual mass was discovered to be 125 GeV in 2012.
Homer Simpson, yes, a fictional character, may in fact be a scientific genius. As it's been revealed, he predicted the mass of the elementary Higgs boson particle more than a decade before scientists did. As The Independent reports, a new book called The Simpsons and Their Mathematical Secrets by Dr. Simon Singh reveals Homer came startlingly close to figuring out the truth back in an episode from 1998.
Another interesting, though less groundbreaking, prediction they made was regarding Michelangelo's David. We all know about the age-old debate of whether art should be censored. This episode came out in 1990, where people spoke up against the naked statue. One of the most notable things in that episode was when the statue was given a pair of jeans, especially since Russia had to vote on whether they should clothe it decades later. Interestingly, this is in the same episode where a billboard promoting an itchy and scratchy movie sprays blood onto passersby, similar to a billboard made in 2008 promoting Kill Bill Volume 1. One of the more gruesome predictions was made in 1993. In a Season 5 episode, Homer and Ned Flanders traveled to Las Vegas, where they came across Gunther and Ernst, their version of Siegfried and Roy, a duo.
Yo, I remember this one right here. It actually happened, guys. I mean, all of these actually happened, but I remember seeing this in the news where these famous circus people always messing around with tigers. And look what happens.
That was famous for their performances with white lions and tigers. Near the end of the episode, one of their white tigers attacked the performers. Nearly 10 years later, the same thing happened to the real-life duo. A 7-year-old white tiger named Manticore attacked Roy during a show at the MGM Mirage Hotel Casino. It grabbed him on the left side of his neck, severing his spine and severely affecting his verbal and motor abilities. Fortunately, Roy survived and even performed a final show with Manticore before his retirement in 2010. Horn also made sure no harm came to the tiger, saying that he had tried to drag him off stage because he had had a stroke. Another time, in the episode Lard of the Dance, aired in 1998, Homer and Bart try to steal grease from Springfield Elementary and sell it for a profit. Their attempt to get rich quickly backfires on them, though. In real life, oil prices have risen sky high and show no sign of stopping. Grease thieves, and yes, that has become a reality, tend to target commercial kitchens. And funnily enough, if they succeed in stealing the grease, today's economy ensures they can make living wages with it. This is because biodiesel demand has increased, and the grease can be processed to make this sustainable alternative to fossil fuels. Increase in grease theft has led to operational and financial issues for many restaurants and grease collection companies.
At $2.40 to 50 cents a gallon, the greasy waste is sold to be refined into biodiesel fuel.
It's about half full. It could easily fetch $75, $100.
Liquid gold for thieves.
What we're seeing, which is I call a scam to the restaurants in San Diego, is companies are coming in offering to do grease trap service and the oil, so that they have a reason to be here to take the oil.
Now, moving on to yet another thing that throws people off. Was it sheer luck, a wild guess, or just another one of the Simpsons' many eerily accurate predictions? Whatever the case, it's a pretty neat coincidence. In a 1995 episode, Big Ben is shown with a digital clock face as a simple joke. But if you check out the background, you'll notice something that looks an awful lot like the Shard, even though it wasn't built until 17 years later. Pretty cool, wouldn't you agree? If you're wondering what the Shard is, it's the tallest building in the UK and one of its most popular tourist attractions.
See, that makes me believe that the Simpsons are living in the future. A lot of people say, oh, they're predicting. They're living in our future, guys. Whether it's a cartoon room or not, they're like, even though their dates are kind of different than Mars, to me, they're living in the future. That's insane.
What's more, its location in The Simpsons is almost on point. As for another one of their predictions that came true recently, we have Apple's Vision Pro, the product that merges the digital world with the one in front of you. In the episode Friends and Family, Mr. Burns runs into Professor Fink, wearing virtual reality glasses. Obviously interested, Mr. Burns takes the VR tech home to try and create a virtual family. This starts a domino effect, ending with most of Springfield attached to their VR glasses. Considering how many of their predictions have come true, there is a chance that we'll end up like the people of Springfield. Now, we only have to wait for Vision Pro to witness that transformation. Not to mention the 2008 episode of The Simpsons called Treehouse of Horror 99. It aired just before that year's presidential election and shows Homer attempting to vote for Obama using an electronic voting machine. He was rather unsuccessful. The machine appeared faulty, and instead of registering the vote as Obama's, it kept switching to John McCain, a Republican.
Ooh, one of those electronic voting dealies.
One vote for McCain. Thank you.
No, I want to vote for Obama.
2 votes for McCain.
Come on, it's time for a change.
3 votes for McCain.
No, no, no!
6 votes for President McCain.
Hey, I only meant one of those votes for McCain. This machine is rigged!
Fast forward to real life in 2012, and we're met with yet another classic Simpsons prediction coming true. News outlets, including MSNBC, reported that an electronic...
This is my first time hearing about this one. John McCain and Obama? Yo. I did not know this. Did y'all know this?
Voting machine was caught doing something very similar. Whenever a person tried to vote for Obama, the machine swapped their votes for Mitt Romney, the Republican nominee at the time. This Simpsons episode was meant to be a funny take on election mishaps, but it turned out to mirror real events just a few years later. All these predictions make you wonder if the Simpsons writers have a crystal ball or something, doesn't it? After all, they predicted that President Donald Trump would become president 16 years before it actually happened. In the episode,
You see, yes, they get the major ones predicted true, but in order for them not to get caught up, they leave some of them out. Y'all saw how it said John McCain, but it wasn't John McCain, it was Mitt Romney. They have to leave a little bit of detail out so they don't get caught up. The author doesn't get chased. But I would point my finger to the author of The Simpsons, guys. Like, how is he doing this?
episode aired in 2000, we get a sneak peek of The Simpsons' future. This episode really isn't famous for being likable. In fact, it's considered one of the worst in the show's history. Then why is it so legendary? In the episode, Bart is shown to be a deadbeat in a band. At the same time, Lisa became the first female president of the United States. In one of her scenes, she mentions President Trump, effectively making it one of the most famous episodes as Trump runs for president again in 2024.
As you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. How bad is it, Secretary Van Houten?
We're broke.
The country is broke? How can that be?
Well, remember when the last administration decided to invest in our nation's children? Big mistake.
The Balanced Breakfast program just created a generation of ultra-strong supercriminals.
And midnight basketball taught them to function without sleep.
And talking about Trump, things got much more interesting on Saturday, July 13th. The former president was the target of an attempted assassination at a rally near Pittsburgh. While the gunman missed Trump, only injuring his ear, one person was shot dead, while two others were seriously injured. Law enforcement officials mentioned that all three of them were adult males. Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens of the Pennsylvania State Police stated that the victims have been identified and their families have been called. Still, their names were not revealed to the public. The rally obviously ended as soon as Trump was rushed off the stage, and the Secret Service assured the public that the shooter was shot dead by them. Chris Takach, who was present at the time of the shooting, talked about his experience. He said that he was next to the speaker tower when he heard the shots and the ammunition. Soon after, the hydraulic line on the right side of the speaker tower came down, and everybody hit the deck. At the same time, the cops all converged on the right side of Trump's body to protect him from harm. The next day, the FBI identified the subject as Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old from Bethel Park. Bivens stated that the PSP cannot yet confirm whether the shooter was working alone or had help. Still, he did mention that, as of now, they had no reason to believe that there was another threat out there. He stated that the PSP would be taking the lead on the homicide, while the assassination would be covered by the FBI. In a post on X, Trump thanked the agents for protecting him. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed, and also to the family of another person that was badly injured, he said. Trump went on to state that he hadn't expected such an act to take place in America, and told the public that the bullet had pierced the upper part of his right ear. The Trump campaign's communication director, Stephen Cheung, confirmed that Trump was treated in a local medical facility and was fine. On the other hand, the Republican National Convention was held from Monday, July 15th to Thursday, July 18th. Anthony Guglielmi, a spokesman for the U.S. Secret Service, stated that the shots were fired from an elevated position outside the avenue. President Biden was among the people who made a public statement on the incident. "There is no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick," he said from Delaware. "We cannot allow this to happen." A White House official said Biden had contacted Trump after the incident and decided to return to Washington from Delaware. He also received an updated briefing from law enforcement and Homeland Security officials. After all this, the most surprising part of the shooting was that it wasn't surprising at all. Yep, The Simpsons somehow managed to predict even this. And right now, it's making headlines yet again for eerily mirroring real-life events. Recently, Channel 4 in the UK brought up an episode that can be seen as poor taste after the recent assassination attempt. The episode Lisa the Iconoclast from Season 7 follows Lisa discovering that Jebediah Springfield, Springfield's founder, was not what he was made out to be. In fact, he was nothing but a fraud and a pirate. That sounds familiar if you replace pirate with felon. Why did Channel 4 decide that this was not the episode they wanted to air on July 14th? First, there's a scene where Jebediah tries to kill President George Washington, but fails. That leads us to the part where Lisa decides to reveal the truth to the townspeople, but backs out at the last minute, realizing that a comforting lie would be preferred in this case. As she walks away, a sniper takes a shot, but misses, hitting the stage instead.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
I think I took the last.
Wait, let's see what she has to say.
Hold, when you're ready, on you.
Jebediah Springfield was...
So we got to move to the car.
Jebediah was...
There's an eerie similarity between the grandstand the sniper is aiming at in the episode and the one from Trump's rally. Given that 2 people, including the shooter, died at Trump's rally, Channel 4 decided to replace it with another episode. Viewers got Baby You Can't Drive My Car from Season 30 instead, where Homer gets a job at a self-driving car startup. Besides the episode, there is an image circulating social media with Trump in a casket. People claim that the image is from The Simpsons, but it's actually fabricated. After all, it's easy to trick people into thinking that the show has made yet another successful prediction after all the conspiracy theories surrounding it. From time travel to brainwashing, the theories are crazy. Unfortunately, for the conspiracy theorists, there is actually a pretty simple explanation for most of the predictions made in the series. It's the writers. Unlike what you would expect from the writers of a comedy show, the writers for The Simpsons were highly intelligent people, many of whom had even graduated from Harvard. These writers put in their time and intellect to create jokes with underlying meanings that not everybody could understand, making the show deeper.
Yeah, they put in their time, all right. They put in their time to sell their shows to predict the future. If you know what I'm talking about. Like, this has to do with conjuring spells and all kinds of stuff. I think they call it black witch magic. I need to start catching up on my Simpsons, because this is insane. I didn't know they were actually this detailed with it. Like I said, every now and then they gotta have something off. But you gotta pay real close attention, guys.
And more interesting in every way possible. We can see the result today. Let's say that these people definitely met their goal of being memorable. Still, we are not quite sure whether their work ever reached the target audience smart enough to unravel the meaning behind it. And yes, this also explains how the show predicted that Trump would become president years before that happened. Dan Greeny, one of the many crew members who went to Harvard, wrote that episode. While studying at Harvard Law School, he started a student publication. Still, he had to compete against a big rival publication to do so. This is where it all starts to make sense. That other publication was run by Barack Obama. When Dan wrote the line about Trump being the future president, his aim wasn't to make an accurate prediction, but ironically enough, to make the line as unbelievable and ridiculous as possible, and, by extension, unlikely to happen. The episode aired just 6 months after Donald Trump announced that he would run for president with the Reform Party nomination.
I mean, I saw you change party affiliation last week. You went over to the Reform Party.
And we're having a lot of fun, and we're getting great response, and we'll see what happens.
When are you going to make a call?
I would say probably in February.
What's going to be the determining factors?
Whether or not I can win. If I can win, maybe I'll do it. And,
but is that going to be a result of polling, or is that going to be a result of reception you get?
Feeling, everything I do, even buying this great building, this was feel. It's all feel. And getting CBS to come here was feel. Who would have known, right? But we're going to feel it out, and we're going to see. And I think in the end, maybe we'll surprise a lot of people.
In the U.S. voting system, there are Republicans and Democrats, and then there are reform parties. Reform parties can be nominated, but it's unlikely that they'll go far. That is exactly what happened. Trump's campaign was a disaster. The party was dysfunctional, and he was publicly feuding with his opponents. To say the least, he withdrew about 5 months after the announcement. This isn't the only prominent prediction that can be easily explained away. One of the writers, David X. Cohen, adored maths since he was young and even studied physics at Harvard before becoming a comedy writer. Don't worry, we're all wondering where he went wrong. He played a major role in writing the episode where Homer discovers the mass of the Higgs boson. While writing the episode, the writers tossed around the concept of including a chalkboard, and this gave David an idea. He contacted a high school friend who had later become an astronomer in Columbia. Together they came up with 3 equations that they could include to add a deeper layer for those who understood. They included the equation for the mass of Higgs boson in the scene where Homer attempts to calculate a donut's physics to get the universe's density. The same goes for the tiger attacking Roy. The production team dismissed the incident as one of their so-called predictions, stating that it was bound to happen at some time. Another one of Simpsons' predictions is autocorrect. Many people insist that it was shown in an episode of Lisa on Ice, but that was actually mocking Newton. It was a device released by Apple in 1992 and known for its horrible handwriting recognition feature. In the episode, a device keeps changing whatever the Simpsons write into something completely different, just like the Newton. Still, I suppose it's funny to see that the problem never went away. Keep it up, Apple. As for the FIFA corruption arrests shown in You Don't Have to Live Like a Referee, it was a long time coming. Corruption had taken root and was prominent enough to be seen from miles away. That much was obvious for years before the episode.
This is a luxury hotel in Zurich where members of FIFA's board were gathering for the election this Friday, which was basically going to crown Sepp Blatter the longtime leader of FIFA with another term. And instead, Swiss police, working with the FBI and the IRS, came in and arrested up to 7 people were now arrested, top members of FIFA's board, and they include Jeffrey Webb, who's the FIFA vice president, former vice president.
But of course, we need to credit the writers for predicting that the law would actually take action, because it certainly didn't seem like it with how they were letting everyone run rampant. Perhaps the episode had brought much-needed attention to it. This particular episode also shows just how much of those predictions were inspired by previous patterns. After all, history repeats itself, and humans never learn from their mistakes. Another example is Marge in Chains, an episode aired in 1993. In this episode, the people of Springfield get sick from a germ-infested juice looseners package from Osaka, Japan. This caused an outbreak called the Osaka flu. This leads to absolute chaos, and as everyone scrambles to try and find a cure, a desperate mob gathers outside the hospital. They only end up making things worse for themselves after toppling a truck that they thought was carrying an antidote and releasing a crate of killer.
I think this kind of relates to the coronavirus that we went through. But if they were really predicted the coronavirus, like I said, they got to be a little off with their theory. they named it something else. That is insane, yo. Like, I really need to start watching The Simpsons on every little episode because they're predicting the near future. Like, I want to say the most they go is about 10 years in advance. But there's some of these that are real close, like probably 2 or 3 years.
Killer bees. I think we all know exactly which event this episode is supposed to predict. Fast forward to 2020, and everybody is stuck in lockdown. At least they were supposed to be. The SARS-CoV-2 virus caused the COVID-19 pandemic, which originated in Wuhan, China. And as if the global pandemic wasn't enough, around the same time, people in the U.S. started spotting the deadly Asian giant hornets far from where they're naturally found, which is, well, Asia. These hornets are also called murder hornets, pretty close to the killer bees in The Simpsons. This, yet again, caused quite a massive stir on social media as people brought up the episode. And it started making rounds all over the internet. Some people even digitally tweaked it to make it more believable. The show's writer was quick to debunk the theory. Bill Oakley, in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, stated that the storyline was inspired by the 1968 Hong Kong flu. Even though many of their predictions can be explained logically, they've had their moments, like the faulty voting machine and the Super Bowl winners. In the end, the reason why The Simpsons has gone from an average cartoon show to a somewhat legendary piece of literature in a much different way than usual has something to do with a good amount of luck. And, of course, the genius writers working behind the screen. What do you think? Will even more of The Simpsons' predictions come true, or has the show finally exhausted itself?
Well, guys, that's the video. If y'all have any more detailed information about these episodes of The Simpsons, please leave your comments and thoughts below. And until then, it's your boy Indy. See y'all on the next one.